This is not a story about how to get out of building a house and constructing a life. You see, some people are so afraid. They're so afraid of being disappointed by their choices that they avoid making choices at all. But that's the house you live in. It may be that you fear disappointment so much that you procrastinate. You put things off. You won't make choices. That's the house you live in. It may be you're afraid that you're being a committed person, because if you commit to something, it might disappoint you. And that's the house you live in. An old story from India, one guy named Haran was with his friend. They were sitting in the cafe sipping tea, and all of a sudden the subjects of love and marriage came up. And the friend said, "Hey, Haran, how come you never married?" And Haran said, "Well, to tell you the truth, I spent my entire life looking for the perfect woman. In Cairo, I met a beautiful, intelligent woman, but she was unkind. And then in Baghdad, I met this woman who was wonderful, generous, but we didn't have any common interest. One woman after another, it would seem just right, but there would always be something missing. And then one day I met her. She was beautiful, kind, generous. We had everything in common. In fact, she was perfect. Well, what happened? Why didn't you marry her?" Haram said, "Well, it's a sad thing. It seems she was looking for the perfect man. He'd never make a commitment. He was building his house." It's not optional. It's so important to understand that, because every day there are hundreds of times that you're constructing a little bit piece of your house, your character, your life. You decide, am I going to speak the truth or am I going to lie? Are you going to resent or are you going to forgive? Are you going to hoard or are you going to share? Are you going to encourage or are you going to belittle other people? Are you going to breathe life into somebody, or are you going to be preoccupied with yourself? And these moments in our lives, they go by so fast, and we think of them as choices that come and gone. But no, folks, they are never gone. They always are a part of you. They're a part of the furniture of your soul. You are constructing your character. You're building a house. We are all house builders. Well, a second constant in Jesus' story is this: every house faces a storm. Every house faces a storm. The big bad wolf came at the door of every little pig. And Jesus goes to some length to point this out. He says, look at the house built on the rock. Listen to what happens. Here's the description. The rain fell, the floods came, the winds blew and beat on the house. And then he says, look at this house. It's on sand. But look what happened. The rains came, the rains fell, the floods came, the winds blew and beat on the house. Identical description. And see, this is no accident, because Jesus is a master storyteller. This is not a story about how to build a house someplace where there are no storms. I mean, we really would like to have that kind of story, wouldn't we? We'd like to have a story say, okay, it's two places, two different weather patterns. Let's say Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and then let's say Lexington, Kentucky. And two men in this story we like to build. We'd like to have a wise man. There's a wise man and a foolish man. The wise man built his house in Fort Lauderdale. The foolish man built his house in Lexington. And God looks at Kentucky, and he makes Kentucky, and there's cold and snow and ice storms and the floods, humidity, high allergy and sinus problems, a change of the weather every 24 hours. And God says, that will build character. And then God makes Florida and looks at it and says, man, I'm going to live there. And see, and the house in Kentucky is buried under the snow and floods and rains and tornadoes. And the house in Florida is mellows in the surf and the sun. Now, we'd like that kind of story, wouldn't we? We would like to find a neighborhood where the big bad wolf didn't show up. But there's no such place. Not in Jesus' story and not in this fallen world. There's no place that you can live free of injustice, racism, accidents that strike out of the blue, and cancer that comes up from nowhere. I grew up in Paris, Kentucky, and I grew up thinking that my parents could do anything. They could fix anything. I mean, I'd break my bike or lose my bike. My dad could get it fixed. I'd hurt myself. Mommy could fix it. I'd have a problem at school. My parents could go and help solve it. And one day, a storm came. It hit our house. We weren't prepared for it. It struck every chord of who we thought we were. And it involved enormous pain. I didn't think it happened to my family, but it did. It did to my wife and kids. They thought mom and dad could fix anything. And the storm came, unexpected, unprepared, and it rocked the Crisswell family's world. It was devastating. It turned our world upside down, and it still affects us. And I've learned, and my family's learned, we were badly mistaken that you cannot go through this life without the storms coming. And I look at my family now, I look at my wife, I look at my kids, and I wonder, what storms are going to come now? What storms are going to hit me? Because nobody goes through life unscathed. And I'll tell you the truth, folks, I don't want to know. All I know is that the storms are going to come in this world. And Jesus made a prediction about this. He made a prediction. And folks, when Jesus makes a prediction, you can pretty much take it to the bank. His prediction was kind of about the climate in our lives. You know, you watch the news and you got the weather forecast of Bill Meck, T.G. Shuck, Christy Dutton, Chris Bailey, Brad James, and you know, they're called meteorologists. And they'll tell you what the weather's going to be, whether it's going to be sunny or rainy or snow or whatever. Have you ever known a meteorologist to miss a prediction? Well, here's the prediction Jesus made in the same sermon on the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus said, "Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring worries of its own. Today's troubles are enough for today. Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow brings worries of its own." Today's troubles are enough for you. Okay, so here's Jesus' prediction. Ready? Trouble today, trouble tomorrow. Pretty simple, isn't it? Turn to the person next to you and say, you have a 100% chance of trouble today. Tell that person right now, real fast, you have a 100% chance of trouble today. And folks, these storms are going to come. And the storm, though, will reveal the foundation that your life has been built on. What are you basing your life on? What are you trusting in? And here comes the turning point in Jesus' story. Here's the crux of it. Okay, the constants are what? Everybody builds a house, both the wise and the foolish, each little piggy, they were house builders. Everybody faces the storms. The second constant, the wolf came knocking at every pig's door. We're house builders. We all face storms. The question is, what are you going to build your life on? Rock? Sand? Bricks? Straw? What's the foundation of your life? What are you putting your ultimate trust in? And Jesus says just as clearly as it can be said, the foolish choice is to build your house on sand. The foolish choice is to place your ultimate trust into something that cannot sustain you through the storms of life. It's gambling that you will get your ultimate fulfillment from anything but from God and His offer of life and forgiveness and salvation. Foolish choice to build your house on the sand. I mean, folks, this is epidemic in our world in which we live in. The writer John Seaver says this: the main emotion of the average adult American who has all the advantages of wealth, education, and culture is disappointment. Isn't that great? The main emotion of the average adult American who has all its advantages of wealth, education, and culture is disappointment? Why? Why is disappointment so rampant? I believe, at least part of the answer is, that we are placing heavier expectations on piles of sand to support our lives. This expectation, folks, will set you up for disappointment. Think about it. Think about work for a moment. It used to be in history that work would provide food, shelter, and clothing. Back in the agricultural days where that was the profession a lot of people had, people worked hard in order to survive. Food, shelter, and clothing. And when they got that, they were very thankful, very grateful people. Oh, but now, we're encouraged to build our houses, our lives, to place our ultimate trust on career success. People expect a lot more than food, shelter, and clothing. We expect fulfillment, identity, status, self-expression, recognition. That's what we expect. Now we live as consumers. In fact, think, we've got more products than ever before, more possessions, luxury items, labor-saving devices than any time in the history of America. And yet, are we happy? Are we that much more happier? Advertisers, man, they go and make promises they can't keep. Think about cars. I mean, cars once were for transportation. Point A to get to point B. Not anymore. I saw an ad about a car, beautiful car. Under it were the words, you can't buy happiness, but now you can lease it. But what if you lease it and you're not happy with it? And the names of cars, they're getting more and more grandiose, you know? I mean, the car today, you can buy a car today called Infinity. What happens when you buy Infinity and it wears out? How do you upgrade, you know, when you start out with Infinity? You know what kind of car I drove when I was a kid? A Packard. And then it was a Rambler. It wasn't Infinity or a Millennium even. A Packard. You know, we just kind of packed it here to there. And a Rambler, we just kind of rambled from here to there. I mean, you set the bar pretty low, folks, when you drive a Packard and a Rambler. Go to a magazine rack. Look at what the articles promise you. Read them. How to radiate assurance and self-esteem. I read it. It doesn't work. 6 steps to happiness, period. Guarantee, period. I read it. Didn't work. How to drive your man wild in the bedroom. I gave it to my wife. Hey, 1 out of 3 ain't bad. Now stay with me. Hold it, don't lose it. Stay with me a little bit, all right? It's a story. Boy, she's coming next service, so don't go anybody tell her about that, all right? It's the story of our world. People who put their trust in things like career success, material acquisitions, marital bliss, financial security, and a combination thereof. We're setting ourselves up for disappointment. We live in a world we write checks we cannot cash. People are building castles in the sand. Oscar Wilde said the only thing worse than not getting what you really want is getting it. Why? Because then we find out it doesn't satisfy the ultimate longing in our soul. And the guy who built his house on the sand assured himself of destruction. The obvious question is then, well, how did this guy get into a mess? And again, here's Jesus, the masterful storyteller. Very profound thing he says. He tells us it's the human condition. This guy didn't deliberately set out to create evil, have a house that fell. And Jesus described this guy as what kind of adjective did he use? Fool. Foolish man. People base their life. People build their life so often just foolishly. Oh, maybe a little clever in the house part of it, but they got into a mess because they never think much of the foundation. It's the way human beings are. I mean, you see it a lot in kids. I mean, kids do something foolish, something senseless, and parents always ask the question. My parents ask me, I ask my kids, you ask your kids. This question is designed to bring something explicable out of something that didn't make any sense at all. Like they take an eyeliner and draw happy faces on the carpet. Or they place their bike strategically behind the car so when you back up, it crumbled, you know, like a paper cup. And parents all will ask the same question, and the question is, why? Why do you have a contest to who could stick up spaghetti noodle up your brother's nose? Why? I think the last thing they learn before they come out into this world from their mother's womb is, now look, you're going to be asked quite a lot, stick to the standard answer, okay? And the standard answer that they're raised with is, I don't know. I don't know. If they knew, they wouldn't have done it in the first place. Ask the man in Jesus' story, foolish man, why'd you build this house on sand? You know what he would say? I don't know. Seemed like a good idea at the time. Just happened. I didn't plan it. Nobody sets to build their house out in sand. No architect sets a site and says, oh, there's a sand pile. Let's put the house right there, and it's going to sink right there, so let's build it right there. It just happens. Friends, listen to me. No one plans to live a mediocre life. No couple exchanges rings, gets married, plans on getting a divorce. Nobody walks in a bar, orders a drink, and then plans on becoming an alcoholic. Nobody ever gets hurt, nurses a grudge, plans on becoming a cold, bitter, withered, stale, resentful person. Nobody has kids and then gets so busy that their kids never get to know them. They don't plan it that way. It just happens. Nobody sits down and plans to go to hell. It just happens. And now you need to know this part of Jesus' story. The ultimate storm that he's referring to. All the other storms we've talked about are very pale compared to this one. The ultimate storm is what the Bible calls the last or final judgment. Jesus says one day you will be scrutinized by God. Every beam, every timber, every word, every deed is going to face an examination. And even in your life right now, if it's been very placid, there's coming a day that you're going to be tested by a just and holy God. And it will become apparent on that day who built their house on sand. Oh, a lot of beautiful houses filled with very expensive things, but will not weather the storm, that storm. It all depends on the foundation. You see, the foundation is not a very glamorous thing. I mean, nobody comes to your house and says, oh, man, great foundation. That's a beautiful I like your foundation. No one ever knows until the storm. And now I speak to you who've been coming here week after week, and you're seeking and you're searching for God. And you've not yet made a conscious choice about where are you going to put your ultimate trust. And these words are for you. Jesus says, build your life on me. Jesus says, I am the way and the truth and life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Jesus says, put your ultimate trust on me. Put your life on my word. For God himself came as Jesus in human form, lived in this earth, built his house, had a life to teach us how to live. And Jesus says that the best of houses, the best of lives on our own cannot pass God's judgment. Because he says every one of us is separated from God by sin. There's this huge gulf. Here's the holy God, and here we are over here. And this huge gulf is between. And this applies to you and to me. You and I are violating a building code. Your life is marred by sin. On your own, you're headed for the same fate that this foolish man in Jesus' story. And so am I. So Jesus came to live and teach. And the Bible says he died on the cross. Turning point of the story. When Jesus died on the cross, he paid your and mine moral debt for my sin and your sin. We owed it to God because God said, if you sin, you will die, which meant separation. So he couldn't lie. He had to separate us. But he sent his son Jesus to pay the debt. That should have been you or I on that cross instead of him. But he paid the penalty. And that's the hope we have. Jesus said to his friends, and they were concerned about his future, they said, in my Father's house are many mansions. He said, I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go to construct this house for you, the one that you're destined to be in, a place where you were designed to be, the life that can be yours forever and ever. And Jesus said to his friends, if I'm gone for a while, then you can be assured the day is coming that I'm going to come back. I'm going to take you to be with me. And I'm going to take you, and I'm going to take you, and I'm going to take you. So that where I am, you may be there also. Jesus said, there's a door in heaven with your name on it, and a day will come when you will die. And to the world, it looks like it's over, but it's just the opening of the door. And Jesus is on the other side, and you will rush into his arms. It's just a gift, folks. It's a gift, a free gift. You can't earn it. You can't come to church to get it. You can't give money to get it. It's not about doing 100 good things and 10 bad things. It's not being the best, the goodest person in this world. Folks, you must receive what Jesus Christ did on the cross. Free. It's free. Accept it. But you got to choose to do it. You got to tell God, God, I acknowledge that I have fallen short. My house is not what it should have been. God, at this moment, I ask you to forgive me of my sins, and I accept the gift of grace of Jesus Christ on the cross. And God, from this day forward, I want you to be my teacher and my guide, and I'm going to try to live my life according to your word, and I'm going to build my life on your word. And Jesus, you're my foundation, but you've got to decide. No one else can do it for you. I wonder. Folks, I hear it every day. Many people, I wonder, how many storms is it going to take? How much disappointment before you finally realize that I've got to build my house on Jesus Christ and the Word of God? How many times are you going to let your house fall? I'll tell you about the most amazing house I've ever heard of. It's a house out in San Francisco. It's called the Winchester House. It was built over 100 years ago by Mrs. Winchester, who was a part of the Winchester rifle family, okay? She lost her husband, lost her son. They both died. She felt guilty from getting all this money from the instrument of death, and she became really eccentric, okay? And she got into the occult. And now listen, she developed this belief. As long as she kept building her house, she would never die. So she built the most elaborate and fancy, unusual house you've ever heard of. She employed 16 carpenters working 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year for 38 years to build this house. This house has more than 950 doors, more than 10,000 windows, 160 rooms, 40 bedrooms, and the front door, back 100 years ago, that door cost $3,000, and when those workers installed the door and then walked outside and closed the door, no one else has ever used those doors for 100 years. And when you go through this house, it's got the oddest things. 40 staircases. They go up to the top and then go nowhere. There's no room to go into once you get to the top of the door. You open the door, and behind the doors in that house, there are walls. There's no hallway, no rooms, just a wall. She did this to confuse death. She figured death might come in and say, oh, I've never seen a house like this. Wonder where Miss Winchester? Can't find her. She was still building the house when she died, and death came. Death was not confused. Death knew exactly where to find her. You know, death has the most amazing sense of direction. It took 8 trucks working 7 days a week, 6.5 weeks, to carry all the extra stuff away after she died. No matter what kind of house you're building, sooner or later, the truck comes for you. For 38 years, the truck came day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, bringing all this stuff, and more stuff to this amazing house. And then the truck came one more time. It came for her. It was an amazing house, but it was built on sand. Well, little piggies, what's it going to be? What's it going to be, little piggies? This is your moment. It's a moment to decide straw or brick, rock, sand, Jesus Christ, or anything else. Build fast, little piggies, with sticks and straws, your castles in the sand. Make them large and impressive and fill them with wonderful things. But don't forget about the storm. For loss and rejection, failure, betrayal, disappointment, and all the others will surely come your way. But one day, for sure, the judgment of God will come your way and mine. So for your sake and God's sake, build your house on something that will last. God's got a longing, folks. We're not the only people that have. God's got a longing. He longs for one day for you to open up that door with your name on it in heaven, and you will cross the threshold, and He's going to be there, and His arms will be wide open, and He will wrap them around you, and you will forever be with Him in all of eternity. What a day that will be. Folks, there will be no more tears and no more disappointment, no more cancer. We will be there. Will you be there? You will not be disappointed one day.